ready, you can go ahead and begin.
Have any of you ever been tickled so hard that you can't even speak? I bet many of you have never even considered tickling to be a sign of abuse. Not listening to someone say stop, the act of having complete dominance and control over someone, the definition of physical abuse, which is stated in your handout, and so on, are all the ways in which it could be considered abusive. Together, by learning what really happens during tickling, students, parents, and any age can stop the abusive part of tickling and set limits on how much we actually do it. So for me personally, I never really thought of tickling as a problem until about like a month ago. My mom and I were driving home one day, and I don't know how the conversation started, but basically we just got into tickling. And yeah, she basically told me like how it was abusive and stuff. And I did some research on it to see if it was actually true. And there was honestly like a lot of reasons why it's considered abusive. And apparently in a lot of cultures they use tickling as a punishment. Like the Chinese used it as a punishment. The Han Dynasty, which is stated on your handout too, used people tied up, and they would use goats to lick them while they were being tickled. And apparently the Nazis also used feathers on Jews. I didn't know that either. So, if you don't know what tickling is, which I don't know how you don't, but tickling is basically hand movements over sensitive parts of the body, and other parts of the body are more sensitive than others. Most ticklish places are usually located in the neck, the stomach, the armpit, and the feet. And also it has to do with how ticklish you are. A lot of people aren't as ticklish as other people are. Usually tickling is done to be used as a playful activity, and it's used to engage in a bond with like your kid or your parent or brother or sister. But oftentimes these playful activities aren't always playful activities, they lead into something worse. A lot of people, like including predators, can use it in a way to engage into like sexual arousing and use it to show dominance over someone. And that gets into the part where the person that is being used as the punishment can't really like talk or has like no control over their body. So basically they just yell stop, and it's basically like not consenting, which is like basically what it means. It's like their body and they don't want it done to them. So if you're tickling to the point where someone can't speak and they have no control over their body, then you need to stop. Tickling can also cause problems later in life for you. I know someone who has been tickled so much as a kid that is now like really claustrophobic no matter where, because her dad like would always tickle her as a kid, but he did it like way too much. Kids also break things when they get tickled. I was one of those kids that broke a lot of stuff. My brother would always tickle me like crazy, and I'd always break glass or something in my house. And one time I even broke his finger. So when can tickling be okay? When a kid says stop, that means stop. Tickling has limits. Instead of just going up to a kid or brother or sister and just tickling them, you should ask them to be tickled instead, so they can get used to it and actually like be ready for it. Again, if they can't speak anymore, then you need to stop tickling them. It doesn't matter if they say stop or not, like you need to stop tickling them. You can actually apparently die of laughter. I researched this. You can get cardiac arrest, a stroke, or asphyxiation. Another good thing to do if you're tickling your kid or sister or brother, whoever it is, you should take breaks in between each tickling. Like take short breaks and not tickle for long periods of time. And if you can't handle these things, then you should find other games to do. So as you can see, with just a few simple steps and tricks, we can avoid tickling someone to where it comes to the point of being abusive. Ways such as listening to the person saying stop, understanding what physical abuse is, which is stated in your handout, and setting limits on how much we do it are all ways to avoid the abusive side of tickling. Following these ways, we can avoid kids being tickled until they can't speak, them having problems later in life, or simply being abusive to our brother, sister, or kids. I challenge you as the audience to find other ways to have fun. Tickling could be a good way to enhance a bond with you and your child, but just remember it has limits. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to the round of applause. Thank you, Trenny. All right, let's go ahead and open the floor to some questions. Trenny, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and work on calling on them, please.
All right, Luke.
Can there be serious consequences to, like, say, the person who's tickling, like, can they get in trouble for that in any certain way?
Like, what do you mean exactly?
Like, say, you know, here on your handout it says this is pretty effective with the punisher because since the punishment left no mark, so is there really any way to punish someone who is tickling?
Someone who is
In
tickling?
an abusive way, yes, without leaving any marks or anything.
Proof-wise, I think you're saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
proof.
you're asking, like, is the abuser, like, actually abusing the tickler? Is that what you're
Or
asking?
no, like, can they get in trouble for doing so? Like, or,
I'm not sure. Like, back then, I don't know. But I know nowadays, like, in public schools, they don't even allow tickling. In a lot of public schools. Apparently, you can get in big trouble for that and get kicked out for that. Yes.
Have there been any like abuse cases, like specifically towards tickling? Like, has anybody?
I don't know for sure, but again, like I stated in the speech, like, I know a lot of people have, like, started tickling out, but then they led it to, like, rape, even. Like, it's gone that far. I know that. Jessica?
Are there any, like, harmless activities that can be considered as abuse that you know of?
Any other harmless activities?
Like harmless, like tickling would be considered, I guess, a harmless activity, but could be, to an extent.
I'm not sure of many, but I do know that tickling is one of them. Like, obviously, like, tickling isn't a bad way. I'm not saying tickling is a bad thing. Like, it's a good way to get, like, a bond with, like, your kid or something, but, like, obviously taking it too far can be pretty bad. Yeah.
Okay, so you said that people can die from laughter, like getting. So how long do you have to laugh to die?
I do not know.
Well,
But I do know that, like, you can actually die of laughing. There's been people that have even watched movies that have laughed so hard that have died. I did research that. Yes.
You mentioned that a person you got claustrophobia from being tickled so much as a kid. Do you know what any other things that could happen in the future from being tickled so much as a kid?
I'm not really sure. I know there could be something else, but all I know of, right, I don't know if there's, like, any disorders or anything like that, but I do know that claustrophobia is, like, a big one. Like, I'm not claustrophobic, but I've broken, like, a lot of things, but I don't know of any, like, diseases or anything.
Okay, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you very much, Trenny.